I'm Lauren Kling, and this is 5 Things That Changed Your Life. Each episode, I sit down with a special guest and ask them to share 5 stories, events, or experiences that had an impact on their life, like a person who helped them decide a path to take, or a place that completely transformed the way they think. Perhaps it was inspiration from a family road trip or a childhood TV show that helped them to make the person they are today. This week's guest, Courtney Barber.
You know, it's funny, in Australia, I feel like I have more time, and time is the same, but, you know, like in Australia, I can still manage to do everything I want to do, work out for an hour and a half, go for a walk on the beach, have a sit-down dinner with my parents, go for a walk with my mum after dinner on the farm, and it's 8 o'clock. And you're like, I've done everything I could possibly do, you know, and then you actually have that quality time where I feel like here you're in a whirlwind, you know, and it's like the life of being busy. And if you're busy, you can always be busier because there's someone busier than you, not really being productive, but you're just busy. And so I think that's what it was. It was just constantly, I just felt like I wanted to get off the treadmill.
Courtney Barber is an Australian entrepreneur, having founded both Glam Today magazine and Perfect's Laboratories, a beauty and health supplement company based in Los Angeles, California. Courtney is also Miss Nevada International 2016 and a former Miss Australia Galaxy 2011. Joining me in my conversation is my co-host, Alan Ng. Courtney, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You said coming from a farm in the outback in Australia.
Yeah.
And moving to LA.
Yeah. So basically, I come from a very, very small farm in Australia. Like, there's literally, we have 100 people in our town. That's how small it is.
Wow.
And so I grew up there my whole life, on the farm, doing all the farm activities. I've got 3 brothers, no sisters. So I was definitely just one of the boys. And on our farm, when people say, oh, do you have kangaroos jumping around your house? And that's always a joke for people in Australia. And I'm like, yeah, actually I do. Because I literally do. Like, outside my window, I have kangaroos. And then also all the other stuff like snakes, all the stuff. So when you think of, you know, the outback and Steve-O, that's sort of my house. And so I'd always been there, and I moved to the beach called the Gold Coast, which is like the Miami of Australia, when I finished high school. And I'd always wanted to do entertainment. I had an acting coach from when I was really young. I always thought I was going to be a star, and, you know, always were putting on plays and doing fashion shows and getting my mum to put me in children's fashion modeling and all sorts of things. And I always wanted to come to the States. It was always a dream of mine, but I just thought, how, it's so far away, and when you're from such a small place, and you know, for you guys it's normal, but for us, like, we see it on TV and it's like Rodeo Drive, you know, Hollywood. You're like, wow, imagine who lives in Hollywood.
Right.
So it's amazing when you first like come here and then you see it all. You're like, oh my God, I'm in those places that I saw, you know, on TV and the movies and everything. So
Right. Now, did you ever have dreams of at least becoming big in Australia, like going to the big cities?
Well, the Gold Coast is quite a big city. It's one of the biggest. I never wanted to move to Sydney. I felt like it just wasn't my thing. I'm very much, you know, I'm very much an outdoors person, like coming from the farm. I'm not used to seeing any neighbors at all. So I didn't think I'd ever move to one of the biggest cities in the world, which I am now.
Right.
Coming from my house, you know, it's quite funny. But I did well in Australia in the areas that I was in, but it actually is a very small place. So it's the same people do the same things, and there's the top celebrities, and everyone knows them, but they're not, in terms of like really making something of it. I feel like when you get to that point in Australia, if you really want to test how good you are, you've got to be the, you know, big fish in the small pond and jump out and find a bigger pond. So I did that, and that was great to be able to come here and be like, wow, like I'm starting again from scratch. But it was great to be able to see what you're really made of. So.
Wow. Were your parents supportive of you?
They were. They always knew. I mean, I think they always knew that I wanted to come and be in the entertainment industry somehow, or be on the stage, and I remember saying to my mum when I was really little, I wish you were American. I was born in America. And she's like, oh my God. So they were very supportive, and they actually come visit me all the time. It's a great excuse because they're like, oh, I guess we have to go to America to visit Courtney. So no, they always knew at some point that I was going to go. So.
Yeah. And what about your brothers?
They just think it's funny. They're all in the military in Australia. So they're as far removed as the pageant world and the sisters, fanciful dreams. They're, do their thing, but they have come to visit me as well. And they think it's great. I think also for people in Australia, when you say you live in America, they're like, so how do we get in contact with you? And I'm like, by the phone, like just call me. But it seems like, oh, well, do you ever hear from Courtney now that she's in America? It's like I've got on the Titanic and disappeared. They just think, how do you get in contact with these people? I'm like, pretty much the same way you would if I was like down the street. So.
Do they assume you know famous people?
Yes. Yeah, they do. They always ask me. My grandma, she used to ask me how certain famous people were. And she, in her mind, for some reason, she thought that I was going to end up on The Bold and the Beautiful. So she was always asking me how certain characters were. And I was like, I have the same idea as you. I don't know them personally, but I'm sure they're around. So, have
you ever had a chance since then to call home and tell anybody, guess who I met?
Yes. Well, I've been able to see, I'd probably not so much say meet, but I've seen Tom Cruise and Johnny Depp. I was out for dinner the other night at Catch in LA and I was staying next to this person and I swear to God, I thought it was a girl in a pink outfit, but it was Justin Bieber. And it looked like he was wearing pajamas, but it looked like a girl in pajamas. So, I mean, if he ever hears this, and I'm sorry, but you need to get a better haircut because it literally was like, him walking past. Like straight away, I was standing right next to him. I just thought, oh, that's an interesting looking outfit. And then it was him. So
I think every child or young man, at least once in their life, gets that horrible haircut that their mom was like, we are never going back to that supercuts again.
Yeah.
And so maybe he
just was in desperate need of a haircut and went down to Charlotte down the street who fancies herself as a Hollywood hairdresser or something. So
That's awesome. So are your parents sad that none of the children wanted to stay home or take over the farm?
Yeah, we actually go back quite a lot. And I think now my older brother, he's, had his first child and second one on the way. And his plan is in the next couple of years to move back to the farm. But we all have different plots of land on our farm where we're all going to build a house. So I think ultimately we probably will all end up back there like Legends of the Fall. And then my parents would be like, why did we ever wish they all came back? Because now they're back. But we do go back a lot. And this year I've already been back to Australia twice this year. So, and it's only March. So I left in, I would spend the summer in Australia because I just can't even stand the LA winter. I'm such a sun person. So I leave usually November and I come back in end of February. So I went to Australia for the summer. I got to do the surfing and beaches. And now Christmas Day is literally a barbecue in your swimmers, in your, what do you guys call it? Bathing
suits. Yeah.
And then, I came back literally like the second week in January and I had to go back a week and a half later for work. So I only just got back last week. So
wow.
I've been lucky. I missed all the cold weather because I'm like, I can't handle it. So
I get it. And I do tours on Hollywood Boulevard now. I lead historical walking tours in Hollywood. Go to redlinetours.com. Yes. And it's funny because
I want to plug.
All right, fine.
What can I say?
Our winter time is Australia's summertime, and so for 2 or 3 months, we just get throngs of Aussies coming out here to Hollywood.
And what's the funniest thing someone's asked you from Australia? Or said that you're like, what are you even saying?
Nothing that's stuck out. I do know because we had a lot of tour groups.
Right.
And the tour groups would have an adult chaperone to the kids. And I just remember there was one stern woman who was leading the group who was like from the 80s American movie Porky's, Beulah Ballbricker, the female PE coach who's like, I will find you kids. Like she was like that.
And she was Australian?
But an Australian version.
Oh
she wasn't taking any crap from anybody. But she was nice because I'm an adult and I wasn't scared of her.
Perfect.
But
that's
still,
good.
she was keeping the kids in line. Yeah, so it's been nice. Now, you came out here, and how old were you when you came out?
I moved out here when I was 25.
And did you have a place to stay? Did you have a job?
Yes, I actually moved out with my boyfriend at the time. We'd been together for many, many years. So we moved out here together. It was his dream as well to move out. And he wanted to start a business out here. So together we're like, right. Literally one day I was in Australia driving along after training some, because I used to be a personal trainer years ago. And I was driving along after training clients. And he was like, guess what? I booked us tickets to America. We're leaving in February. And it was like December. It was like... And I was like, oh, okay. He's like, we're moving. So get everything we need to get our whole life sorted so that we can go live in America starting February. So we'd always wanted to and talked about it. So I ended up coming, and we started off living in West Hollywood in one of like right near the Laugh Factory. Mm-hmm. I think that's where everyone goes, because like, where should we go? Drop a pin. Oh, West Hollywood. Sounds good. So I was at the Laugh Factory all the time. But it was a nice central place, I think, to get started. But I didn't know anyone. Like maybe one person. They lived in San Diego.
Wow.
So it's like, it's a big deal. And like lucky I had him, and we sort of got through that part together. But it's quite daunting when you just go to a new country and you land and you're like, okay, so how do I get a credit card? Where's the grocery store? What's the grocery store called?
Right.
So
slowly you started acclimating yourself.
And you do, and the good thing is it's not like you're moving to China. You know, it's like you speak the language. There's a lot of Australians there. If you need to feel like you need to assimilate with your own kind. But I think where you are, you get to, and I'd been to America before just on little vacations and trips and stuff, but it's sort of different when you come and move here and you have to do all that. Like, you're not just on holidays. You're like, right, I have to actually work and be normal and get a routine and like learn how to drive on the other side of the road, which is...
Yeah, how was that?
I didn't drive for a long time. I was really scared. I made him do it. And then it got to the point where I had to get my ID, and so you have to go take your driver's test, and that was fine, but it's the hardest thing is when I go back, when I drive, like I'll literally land in the airport in Australia and I get into a car and you're driving out of the airport and you have that split second where you just like, I don't even know which way to turn. Because you're on the other side of the car, on the other side of the road. And so you get to a roundabout and you're like, which way would cars come? And then now I don't know which way, like when I cross the road, I look every way. Because I forget which way the cars come, so I just look both sides.
Well, that's what we learned as kids, right, Alan? We learned to look both ways before you cross.
Yeah. Exactly.
Even if it's like one-way street, I still look both ways because I'm like, am I in Australia or America? I don't know.
I think Hollywood is the greatest place to learn to drive too.
Yes.
The streets of Hollywood.
Is it Uber or Lyft that actually, or is it like a FedEx that they told all their drivers to not make left turns anymore? It might be a delivery service.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. No, I think it's like UPS or FedEx.
They actually told their drivers in LA, you can't make left turns. Even if it takes longer, they're actually saving a lot of gas.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Significant. Interesting.
They're like Zoolander, but for deliveries.
They are.
Exactly.
Deliveries for people who don't drive so good.
Exactly.
All right, so you came out here. And one of the things you wrote down here is you became a celebrity fitness writer for Perez Hilton.
Yes.
So you mentioned that you were doing fitness back home.
Yes.
So that probably was something you could pick up and do here.
Definitely. I was doing personal training and I thought, well, the easiest and quickest thing I can do when I move here is to continue with my personal training. Obviously, you're moving to LA. Everyone needs to look good. It's, everyone's into kale salad and everything else that they're into here. And I remember in Australia, I was like, I want to get some, like a portfolio behind me. And I'd done a lot of stuff in Australia. I had a lot of like supplement sponsors because I used to compete in like bodybuilding and different stuff when I was young. And I remember going through all these top like profile people here in LA, and I was like, I'd really love to be that was when Perez Hilton, you remember when that was like the big deal, like
right.
That was when it was huge blogging. And so I made this proposal on PowerPoint and I sent it to them, and this was the year before, and I didn't hear anything back, and it was amazing. It was like a 9-page presentation of all the stuff I could do. I sent it from my place in the Gold Coast, and every month I resent it out. I just kept sending it to the email and thing. 9 months later, I'd campaigned, it kept going. I get this email back from them saying, we love what you've put together. Can you send us an original article about like celebrity fitness tips? So send it in. And then they're like, great, you're now the celebrity fitness expert for Perez Hilton. You know, and I'm on the website straight away. I'm actually still on there now. So I moved to LA, and so that was the one good thing is straight away I had their film crew come to where I was living because we had a big gym in the complex, and I was filming celebrity fitness routines every week. So people thought at home it was like, oh my God, Nicole Kidman, like here I am on Perez Hilton TV, and they're like, wow, you've made it, and I was like, not really, but but that was exciting. So
wow, that's amazing. And the idea that you started, you know, you did it for 9 months, because I hear that a lot, that people aren't going to come break down your doors if they don't know who you are, unless you have something that they need, a casting director or a producer. Nobody's going to come for you. But then some people are smart and they start sending out here's a postcard introducing myself. Then the next month I'm going to call just to make sure you got the postcard. And then I'm going to send an email. Yeah,
definitely. Like nothing that I've been able to achieve in terms of different titles that I've won or fitness or whatever came from anyone finding me. And I think one of the good things about coming to LA is that's the industry everyone's in. You know, they want to be discovered or seen.
Right.
But it doesn't matter how big or great you are, unless someone's giving you an offer and offering you, you know, no audition or whatever, here's an offer for this thing. You're out there with everyone else. So it's campaigning whether you think you're amazing or not. And that was one thing I learned was like, you just have no pride and don't be afraid to be, I guess in a word, rejected, because they might not have even seen your email.
Right.
At all. And you think, oh my God, they never wrote back. And no one ever saw it, or they forwarded it to someone and that person forgot to look at it. So I think be annoying until they tell you to go away.
That's the smart hustle. And you know what? That makes you stand above, you know, thousands of people.
Totally.
And then the people that are still above you, you're like, okay, that's the next hill to climb. How am I going to get even above what they're doing?
Exactly. So that's one thing I learned from there is like, and in the show you have nothing to lose. Like if there's like go away, I'm like, okay, great. Like I'll just keep.
Have you ever gotten a go away?
I think I've gotten a lot of like no responses. You know, I've gotten a lot of those. I don't think I've ever gotten a go away, but I've gotten a lot of maybe, you know, we don't really have any openings right now, or you're not the right fit, but I think if you put the time into what you're presenting them and it looks good, most people at least take the 5 seconds to have a look at it, and they might really appreciate what you've done, even if there's nothing there. You're on their mind. So as you said with the Perez Hilton thing, I don't know if for the 5 months I was sending it, they weren't even thinking about doing that. And then finally they were like, well, actually we want to do a fitness thing. And here's this girl who's been campaigning us for 9 months. She'd be great because we know that she is a self-motivator. She obviously can do it. So straight away I landed. And then within a week I had the film crew at my house all the time. And I'd go to their offices as well and film everything. So yeah.
That's amazing. Another thing you said is you competed as Miss Australia in 2011. So you were here. Was this once you had moved here to?
This was before. So I moved here in 2012.
Okay.
This was the year before. I had always done like fitness, pageants, and bodybuilding and stuff when I was young. And I am really into like glamorous stuff and the hair, and I remember watching the Miss USA pageant on TV every year when I was little, and I was like, I want to be in the Miss USA pageant. Well, I can't because I'm not an American citizen. I wasn't born here. And then obviously, you know, you can try out for like your Miss Australia and that sort of stuff. So I stopped training like I needed to be a bodybuilder and got a little bit more feminine and was excited and ended up, you know, entering the Miss Australia Galaxy, and I won. So then I obviously got invited to come over to America, and that was like the world titles of that. So that was one of my first sort of trips over for like winning something and getting to compete in a pageant. And you know, not many people, as you said, would be very well versed in the pageant world unless you've been in it yourselves.
Right.
But it definitely is all that teeth whiteners and hairspray, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sequins and glitter everywhere over everything.
Oh, I know glitter. I know from glitter. My wife is a makeup artist, so
well, you're well versed in the glitter. Yeah. I think that was a really great experience, and that opened so many doors for me, being Miss Australia, and I got to meet many cool people. Like I got to meet when Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor of California. I got to meet him and a bunch of different people.
That's
so
awesome.
yeah.
So let's go back and talk about, you said that because you were working out, that you shifted to a more feminine look.
Yes.
So was that an odd adjustment for you? I mean, were you a tomboy as a kid?
I would say I was like, I played soccer for a long time when I was young, professionally. So I was not so much a tomboy, but I just was so focused on sport. Like I was very much into athletics when I was young. And so I think though I always really liked Dolly Parton. She was always my idol and she still is now. So I was like, one day I'm going to look like Dolly Parton. And then I ended up going, I really want to do these, like get more into pageantry and be able to wear all the glamorous stuff because I've been wearing soccer boots for so long. And so, yeah, I had to change my training from like trying to get, everything was like, let's get massive. So it was like drinking all the protein shakes and eating and trying to put on as much muscle as possible so you could be like, you know, Rambo, to like, let's be more like feminine. So I did have to change that, but it ended up being good because it's a lot more appealing look, I think, for most people. They don't really want you to, like your boyfriend, to have bigger biceps than him. So.
Alan?
Yeah, what was the motivation to go into the pageant world as opposed to staying within fitness?
I think I won a lot of titles in the fitness, and I think for me it's always you get to the point where you sort of you've done as much as you can or as much as you want to do, and you've sort of seen all the aspects of it, and sometimes you just have to go back to re-winning things you've already won. And I didn't really want to do that. So I'd explored it all and I thought, well, how about I change to this different thing, which is pageantry, which is like, you know, it's not based on just your body in terms of like how muscly you can get and everything. I really liked the giving back aspect of it as well. Like you have to usually align yourself with a charity or a cause and you do a lot of work. Like the girls who do pageants, they're out every weekend helping people and working for their charities and different stuff. So that's a really good part of it. And I was really interested in that and being able to have a cause. So that was why I sort of changed over. And obviously I thought, you know, maybe one day I'll be in America and I'll get to be on the TV doing this. And yeah.
So it was always with that idea of your goal to get yourself to America, to be known in the United States. You were always thinking.
Always. From when I was really young, like everything was the next step. And with fitness is like, it's very, you know, if I ask anyone who's a top women's bodybuilder in the world, I don't even know. But you could say to other people, have you seen the Miss USA pageant? Everyone knows what that is. Right. So I was like, I'm going to move into something that's more commercial. And that's where I went from something that was more obscure to something that had more mass appeal, more commercial. And then people are interested in that. Do you want to meet Miss Australia? Oh, yeah, I'll meet Miss Australia. That's great. So I was like, oh, I want to be that person.
Has it been a big asset for you in America now?
Definitely. I mean, usually with people I don't even know, like, and I don't know how. I mean, it might be weird, like AI technology that they have where they like map your face and they can look you up. But people that, you know, will be in the street when I first moved here more, they would come up to me and be like, oh, you're Miss Australia. And I was like, oh, yeah, you know, and like, can we have your photo? And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then when you meet people and then they look you up or whatever, or you're on your social media, you know, has it on there. And they'd be like, oh, do you want to meet my friend? They're like, oh, yeah, that's fine. Oh, she was Miss Australia. Yeah, definitely. Invited to the party. And then it's like on the flyer, and Miss Australia will be there. And I'm like, please don't do that.
Oh, no. This drive, you know, I'm hearing already, and we still have a lot of things to cover, but I'm hearing this drive. Did you get that from being amongst brothers and having to, it sounds like you had to rely on yourself to get what you wanted.
Definitely. I mean, everyone in my family is always been super supportive. Like anything you want to do, it could have been anything and they would support you in it. But because they wanted to go down a very different path from me, it's not like I either had someone older that was blazing the way and going, oh, well, this is what you do. Like no one, my brothers are as far removed from anything in front of the camera. You can't even get them to smile in a photo or be in a photo. So I know I want to be in the front, like, hello, it's all about me.
Right.
So, yeah, you have to have that internal drive definitely to push yourself along.
And were your parents, they were supportive. Were they supportive financially or will drive you? Or was it you need to do step A, B, and C, and we will help you?
I think when I was young, obviously supportive financially because I was too young to even work. So anything I wanted to do, you know, I wanted to get a acting and theatrical coach when I was, it must be when I was like 7 or 8. And so I did that every week for like from when I was maybe 7 to 17. So I did theatric coaching. I wanted to learn instruments. They paid for that, played soccer, all those different things. Now, like, listen, if you apply yourself and do it, we'll fund it. But the minute that you don't do your theatrical homework and turn up and just skip classes or whatever, we're not going to keep paying for you to do that.
Got it.
So if you can continue to pass all your, exams and do well in your assessments and compete and get picked for different teams and stuff, then we'll keep that going. So it was on you. You let the opportunities roll there, but you had to actually be the one that walked through the door and kept it going.
But not everybody who would be have the same opportunity or the same feedback from their parents, not everybody would do that. And so,
definitely. I mean, I even had people in my classes that it was a small group class, and they just stopped turning up. And so that was, their parents were still paying. I don't know where they were going, but they just wouldn't come to class, or they'd never do, like, you'd have to prepare, a 5-minute monologue or something. And they just come and have not done anything, and then ended up just not doing it. So you have to definitely, even as a young age, like as 8, going home, studying your material, learning your lines, like rewriting all your lines and fixing it all up. And you sort of find that you have that drive and you don't know where it comes from, but I think ultimately it's because you want to give yourself the best shot at doing something later. And I don't know how I had that like vision when I was so young, but I did. So
yeah, no, that's good. Not everybody has it.
Yeah.
And it works especially well in the entertainment business because 1, it's a business, and 2, it's a creative thing, and creative people don't get paid like they do
Exactly.
an accountant or, a farmer, somebody who's the more traditional job that our parents and grandparents had. We're in a business that's strange and operates differently and things like that.
I think people find it funny that you spend so much time, like, if you have a normal job, you do what you're doing on a daily basis, but you don't have like maybe 5 people a day saying, next, no, you didn't get it. You didn't get this part. And people are like, and then tomorrow you go back and do the same thing? And you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they're like, and you just keep doing that? And then you hope that one day, and you're like, sort of what happens. They're like, wow.
Right. I mean, people say that auditions are your job and then booking the job is like a bonus. That's what those a-holes say. I've heard that's
who
true.
are those people?
Yeah, I know.
hate them.
I know. We hate them. Grr. Hey guys, just breaking into the conversation real quick because I wanted to share some of the interesting things that you have been sharing with us over the last couple of weeks. If you guys want to share some of yours, email them to us at 5things@5thingspodcast.com or on Twitter at 5thingspod. CL says, I drove a van in the Bob Dole motorcade. FCC says they once played celebrity poker with Brad Garrett. TD writes, he was afraid of heights when he enlisted in the Army, so he joined the Airborne Corps to get rid of the fear. And HS says, she's been a sober stripper for 6 years that doesn't drink and only occasionally smokes weed. And AS says, he's Abraham Lincoln's 3rd cousin, going back only 5 generations. And since then, they've been able to trace their family tree to the Constitution, Boston Tea Party, the Revolutionary War, the Puritan migration, and a distant cousin married 2 of Paul Revere's daughters. These are some fascinating things. All right, guys, send in interesting facts about yourselves. We'll share them on a future episode, and who knows, maybe we'll have you guys on for a 5 Things interview. All right, back to the conversation. You started your own fitness magazine in 2012 here in the U.S.
So basically that came off the back of doing the stuff for Perez Hilton. I had obviously then from him I started writing for a whole lot of different fitness publications like bodybuilding.com, Max Sports and Fitness, a lot of different magazines. And then I sort of had this idea, I think it was always the next, what's the next thing? And I got not so much bored, but I wanted to push myself. And so I sort of thought, why don't I start my own digital magazine for women that's not like the magazines that are out there that are all about bodybuilding and focusing on how much protein you're eating and that sort of stuff. I want to make it a holistic. So it's, women's fitness, fashion. They've got like a fit mum in there. You've got like a business coach, a psychologist. All like my mom, I put her in there. She's a travel photographer. And so it was like, like the stories of a lady who travels, who treks, who's over 50 in different countries. And so it was a very interesting magazine, and it was digital, and it was one of the first digital magazines to come out where a lot of it was videos too. So within iTunes, it was on iTunes, so you could read on your iPad or your iPhone. It was videos through the whole thing. And so people were just like, wow, like instead of having to look at pictures of someone working out, you just read the caption and press the video and play it. And now everything, of course, is like that on Instagram. But back in the day, like years ago, no one was really doing that. So it was very innovative for the time. And I got to interview like a lot of cool celebrity people for the magazine as well. So that was fun.
Is it still going on?
The magazine's still around. I took a step back from it probably about a year and a half ago because it became bigger than what I could handle. I had 8 writers on staff, like art directors. Then you're trying to sell advertising, and you're all trying to do like it's like a one-man band nearly running a magazine. I was the editor-in-chief and the founder, but I'm such a control freak that I edited every single article as well for all the writers. Gave them the theme for every month, had to have it out on time, had to find advertisers. So it felt like an octopus, like doing all these things. And it's still amazing. I think we ended up doing 12 editions. And it's something I'd still like to revive. Like it's still there. It still gets downloaded every single day. I still get emails from women that read it. They're like, this is the best magazine ever. Because I wanted something as well that it was funny. I went and looked at say the edition of some popular women's magazines that are out, and every January edition they just change the picture on the cover. They don't change any of the headlines.
Wow.
They just go new year, new you. Like, and it's identical, like years. Like I put them all together, and I was like, this is what people are paying for, is just ghostwritten articles that are just a piece of crap. Sorry, I shouldn't say that word. And I thought I want something that's real. So I just said to my writers, you can curse, you can say whatever you want, like as long as it's nothing that's terrible. But I don't want it to be this gone through 10 board meetings and saturated down to nothing. I was like, if you're a fit mom and you're at home and you have no time, your kid's vomiting all over the floor and you just don't feel like working out and you feel terrible, write that. Like, be real. And we got so much response from women. Like, this is so great because no one here is pretending that they have the perfect life. Like, here's some raw vegan person who's like, I'm a raw vegan and today I ate macaroni and cheese for the first time in 5 years and it looked amazing and I shouldn't have done it and now I'm really sick. I'm like, yeah, I can relate. So.
But it was worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
So is new content being produced now, or is it?
No, the magazine just stands as it is. It's basically just like a series that I put out.
It's like a 12-volume
It
compilation.
is. And I would love to do it. It took a lot of time, and I think now if I went back and did it, I'd get a lot more help to do it because I had like an assistant and everything, but still I think it's a lot bigger undertaking than what I realized. And to come up as well, like, I guess for the other magazines, if you're ghostwriting or just regurgitating content, yeah, it's easy to put out a magazine. But when you actually want real original articles every month that are pages and pages long, not just like a little caption,
right.
And then you've got to shoot the video content and you've got to edit everything and put it all together, that's a lot of time. And to get that turned around in time every month is pretty big. So,
and that's probably the role for somebody who just wants to be
totally
a managing editor.
Totally.
But you have more.
I had all these other things that I wanted to do.
All these other things.
Do you feel like that you do that a lot, where you just kind of have a vision for something and you just go out and you do it?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I don't know, like, it's very important. I've always been someone that has like vision boards, like dream boards, and putting up exact pictures of what you want in life. And I think it might be even an idea or a concept. But if you don't put limits on yourself, you'll be surprised at what you can do. Like if someone said to me before I left, next year you're going to have your own fitness magazine, you're going to interview Lisa Vanderpump from The Real Housewives and have tea with her in her mansion. I'd be like, get out, like no way. And then there I was having tea with her in her house like a year later. just chatting in her wardrobe, like going, and I'd seen her on TV and I'm like, I can't believe I'm actually here. Like, this is surreal. So I think the limits are what you put on yourself ultimately. Yeah.
So do you have that project now that you're working on?
It's funny, like I'm going into a new phase now. I do have some business ideas that I've been working on while I was in Australia, and they're to do with Amazon, like selling on Amazon, and it's like I know when it's something I need to do when I can't get it out of my head. And it's just there, and I haven't really had the time because I've been traveling so much to get it started. But literally 2 days ago, I find myself getting out the old vision board and cutting out pictures and being like, all right, it's probably going to happen soon.
I made a vision board a couple years ago. It's always been talked about, and I made it, and it was great. I don't always refer to it.
Yeah.
But it's still a strange thing that I haven't, the magic that it gives, I don't know what it is. And maybe it's just there. Maybe it's just when I need to glance at it, the universe will direct me.
Exactly. And I think there is something too, as they always say, when you put the energy out there, for like even hosting stuff when I came over, I thought I want to do, get more into hosting. I think that'd be great. And then it just so happened 2 days later, I saw the ad for, you can go to hosting school. I'd never looked for that before. And then I just see it, like a Google ad or something online. I was like, actually, that's what I want to do. And just so happened it was 2 minutes from my house, and all these things. I looked it up and I was like, hopefully it's not far away. And it was 2 minutes down the road where I just moved. So all that stuff starts to happen. Then you start to meet people and then you find out the industry they're in and there's correlations. So definitely there is something to that.
You're in alignment with the universe.
Exactly. I'd like to think so.
So with all of this, though, you said you went back to Australia for an extended break in 2015 after burning out. So what were you doing that led to burning out?
Too many things.
Got it.
As we can
That'll
tell.
do it.
Yeah. And that's the, basically, the person that I'd been seeing at that time, we were together for a long time and he ended up moving back to Australia and I didn't want to go. I wanted to stay. So obviously it's like a relationship breakdown, and he and I are still really good friends to this day. It wasn't so much, it was more that it was the first time that I'd really been on my own in 10 years, but I was also on my own in another country. It's not like you can go to your mum's house and be like, oh mum, I'm sad, like one day you're in the apartment with someone, the next day they're just not there. But I hadn't even had that in Australia, so it's like very daunting when you're in another country and you're like, oh, this is weird. And then, so there was like that. And it was just adjusting to being by yourself for the first time. I'd always had someone in my life. And so it was weird doing that. And then I think all the other things, like sort of winding down the magazine, not shutting it down, but just saying, listen, guys, like, unless I get some help with this, I can't continue running it on my own. I think it was a combination of all those things and just really overextending myself and being burnt out. And so I just got to the point where I felt like every day I was waking up and I wasn't that happy. And I thought, how could I be not happy? Like in the time I was living in Beverly Hills, I'd always wanted to live in Beverly Hills. That was my address. And, you have all these things around you and just none of it. I wasn't happy with any of it. And it's funny, like they always have that, people get to a certain point and they should be happy and they're not. But I realized it was because a lot of fundamental things from my life that actually gave me joy, I just wasn't doing anymore because everything had come about business. So I remember speaking to my dad and I was like, I'm not really feeling it here. I feel like I really need a break. And I hadn't been back to Australia properly. Like I'd go back for a week, but it takes you nearly a day to get there. So you have 5 days. You get to see like one person for half an hour and then, each day and then you go. And he's like, why don't you just go? And I was like, and I was trying to think of a reason why I couldn't go, but all my work is online. And I was like, well, I guess I could leave. And so I just rang my landlord, was like, I'm going to leave in like a month. I'm giving you a month's notice. And then it was the point of telling people going, I think I'm going to go back to Australia for a bit, not to live permanently, but I'm going to go for a vacation, like a long extended holiday. So I literally within 3 weeks packed up my whole apartment, put my car in storage, everything, like disconnected everything, my whole life, went to the airport, caught a plane ticket and left. And at the time it was so weird because I was just like, I don't even know, like, what I'm doing. And then I go to Australia and it was the best thing. Like it was so great. I was there for 5 months, I think it was. And I hadn't been back to Australia for that long, for years. Like, it was crazy, but I'd had then so much time at the farm, like just getting back to being in nature and my roots and getting to spend time with all my friends and family and actually having Christmas for the first time in years with my family and sort of I feel like there is something magical about where you do come from, and it's like Australia is quite a magical place. And so I was like revived, and I actually felt, which sounds like so weird, but I felt like I'd just been reborn and I had so much energy, and gone was like the person who had anxiety and all these things. And straight away I just felt so confident and so amazing. And I was like, right, it got to like February and I was like, you know what, I want to go back now, but I'm going back as like, it's like the phoenix. I was like, right, I'm going to go back and do all this stuff. So yeah.
Just having a conversation today with a mastermind group, which is kind of like a group of like-minded individuals. And one person in the group was talking about working so hard and being burnt out. And then she was welling up talking about it. And the idea, at least the American idea for the most part, is you work hard, and once you cut back or once you stop or slow down, if you don't keep going, then you're done. Then you're gone for. There's no the idea of relaxing, taking time off for yourself, scheduling. How many people schedule a break, during the week or a month, and not many people do that. So
it's that idea of career momentum that you have to ramp up and maintain this momentum for your career, because if you let it wind down, you'll never be able to get back restarted.
And it is like, I find that over here, and it's funny, in Australia I feel like I have more time, and time is the same, but like in Australia I can still manage to do everything I want to do, work out for an hour and a half, go for a walk on the beach, have a sit-down dinner with my parents, go for a walk with my mum after dinner on the farm, and it's 8 o'clock. And you're like, I've done everything I could possibly do, and then you actually have that quality time, where I feel like here you're in a whirlwind, and it's like the life of being busy. And if you're busy, you can always be busier because there's someone busier than you, not really being productive, but you're just busy. And so I think that's what it was. It was just constantly, I just felt like I wanted to get off the treadmill. I was like, I just need to get off this thing. And so going back, it was like, you know what? I'm taking this time for myself. And by doing that, I came back and it was like 1,000 times better than I was before. So.
Wow.
That is that LA lifestyle, just on the go constantly. And
it is. It really is, because you're doing the grind. You always think you have to, I have to make money, and I have to be famous. I have to book this. I have to do a lot of have-tos rather than looking to see, what do I want? What's my passion? And I've learned myself that passion for something sure makes it a lot easier to focus on something you're good at or you want to do, rather than something you're like, I'll try that, or that seems good.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think longevity only comes when you all your goals and everything are aligned, because ultimately, like, you can, I've worked for certain people, like I did last year briefly, and just doing consulting, but after a couple of weeks I was so burnt out because it was just actually not what I wanted to do. And inherently when you're waking up going, I don't want to go there, like, this is not for me, and you take that time away from it and go, and then straight away, like, you're instantly 1,000% better. And you're like, wow, like, some people stay that way for 20 years, like,
Right.
So it's recognizing what is aligning with you.
I was going to ask you, so what is different now in America than it was before?
I definitely think it's just internal things. It's obviously nothing has really changed in terms of America. If anything, it's probably a bit more crazy since I got back from my trip, considering all the, political things that have been happening. But I think now I definitely take a lot more time for myself, and I don't feel guilty about that. There's certain things in my day that I have to do, and it's just like, I don't care like what people think. If I'm out doing this at whatever time, I'll do it, because that keeps my energy levels high, so I can do everything else that I want to do and actually turn up and be 100% there. Whereas before, it's like you feel bad because you're overextended yourself, but you're 10% there, 10% there, 10% there, so you're really doing nothing. So I think that would be the big thing now, is just really focusing on like things that also bring you joy that are not related to like pushing or career or anything like that,
Right. So another thing you said was winning Miss Nevada 2016. So obviously something brought you back here from Australia.
Yeah. So last year, obviously, as I said, I had that big break, and I came back, and before I actually came back, I was in Australia, and I thought, I think I want to go back and do like my final pageant, because this is like the cutoff year for me, being 29. And, I was 28 at the time. And so I was thinking, well, I've already done so many, like what should I do? And should I even do it? Because I'd stepped away from it for a couple of years. And I thought, do I even like have it in me to do another one, And I'd asked a few people, and I have like my business is actually set up in Nevada. So that was like a place that I could actually compete. And I was saying to them, I'm thinking about going back and doing another pageant. And they're like, why? And I'm like, well, just for fun. And they're not cheap. Like pageants are actually very expensive. Like your dresses alone are over $1,000 for each of your gowns, and you need more than one. And so there's all this stuff. Like it's a very expensive hobby. And they're like, I think, do you really need to do this? I was like, yeah, actually I need to prove to myself that I can do this one more time, but I can do it better than I've ever done it before. And so I ended up like sending in all my application papers for Miss Nevada. I was sitting on my bed in Australia and going, I'm going to apply and I'm going to compete. And, I'd already competed in California once before, so that sort of canceled me out. That's why I couldn't compete in California. And so I had all the residency stuff for Nevada, which was fine, so I could compete there. And I ended up just seeing a few people before I left, and I was like, I'm going to go back, and I think I'm going to I sent my applications in, I'm going to do the Miss Nevada. And they're like, okay, like that's a bit weird, but whatever you want to do, it wouldn't put past you. And then 3 weeks later, there I am with a photo with my crown on my head and the sash. I'm like, guess what, guys? I'm Miss Nevada, and I'm going to like the America Championships in July to represent Nevada. So that was amazing. That really if I'd thought about doing it a couple of months before, no way. Like I wouldn't have just been like, it's not on my radar. But it was more to prove to myself that I could do it. And I think age, it's like funny, like even in this town, it's a very ageist place. Right. You're this and that, whatever. But in pageantry, it's literally like once you get to, like most girls who compete are like 21, 22. In the system that I did, the international system, they're older, which probably like 25 to 28. So I was still one of the more like the older girls that was doing it. But it's mainly because by that time you need to be able to at least have some sort of career, because you need to dedicate a lot of your time to your platform. And so if you're like 20, you're probably not going to even have a platform or anything, or being around enough to think about what you'd want to represent. But right. So I think coming back and getting that, and then I really had that moment where you have your crown and you have the sash and you're looking at it, you're like, oh my God, like I was thinking this and it's done now. And then you're getting all your paperwork and getting interviews and getting ready and fittings. And I do all these appearances in Nevada, like at different casinos for like Memorial Day. I'm up on stage with the DJ, and you wear your sash everywhere, and it's just people are getting photos with you nonstop, like a line of people, and you're like, oh my God, like this is crazy. And then I went to compete for the Miss International, the Miss America, title at the end of July, so in Florida. So that was very exciting.
Wow. Is there anything you think of why you won, or what it was about you?
I think definitely my platform had something to do with it. Mine was, empowering young entrepreneurial women. So instead of, a lot of people do charities, whereas mine was more about, helping young girls start their own business for very inexpensive. Like, you know, people who might be in high school and they want to maybe just start off making some money, and they're great at making jewelry, you know, teaching them how that they can make an online store, put it online, how they can market that. And then from there, you know, they can help themselves. They might be able to put that money away for college, put it on Amazon, help their family. And so it's like all young women, just teaching them that whatever skills that you have, you can actually turn that, whether you're a makeup artist or you're great at doing braids or something, you can actually turn that into a business. So it's about teaching young girls about that. So I think that really helped, because Nevada is also a very good state for being an entrepreneur. It has very low tax rates, and it's very pro being an entrepreneur and startup. So it meshed well together what I wanted to do. And I think that's why it really helped, because this is not just someone representing a charity. This is someone who's proactively out there, like help,
right.
you know, and it really aligned with the values of the state. So.
Right. And I think with your background and from all these stories you've talked about, you've always been a go-getter, and you've gone out to have a passion for all of these things. So I'm going to assume that when it was time to speak about your causes, you're well-spoken.
Yeah.
Like you are now. You're very well-spoken.
Thank you. No, it was good. Like, I was able to draw from a lot of real-life experiences, and when you speak to especially young women about it, you're not just telling them something that you've heard. You're talking to them about, you know, which is always the best way. It's something that from your own experience.
Right.
So, no, it was very good. And I think that's probably why, like, I was very authentic. And like, wow, she's not just a polished presenter of information, you know, who's had a pageant coach like, oh, you should say this and that would sound great. It's like, I'm just talking to you as I would to anyone else, but this is my real life. So, yeah.
Did you have a strategy to winning, or did you just have the confidence that you were going to do it?
I think the confidence.
The vision board.
The vision board helps. And, you know, it's funny because any other pageant that I've done, I've usually spent, you know, a long time, months and months, maybe half a year preparing for. And this is the first one where I just sort of sent in the application, was like, I'm just going to go there and do it. So maybe it was just half balls and half confidence. I was just like, you know what, I'm going to go there and I'm going to rock this. And then when it got to the big title, like where you compete against all the states, you know, so like the Miss USA, it's Miss International, it really was another level. Like the girls there are like top level. Like everyone's like supermodel, and also half of them are engineers for oil and gas and like all this stuff. You know, they're amazing, amazing women. But you sort of like, I think you're all there, you're all competing. I made so many great friends there, but it just definitely, as I said, coming here was a big thing. It makes you really bring it. In Australia, it's a certain level, but you get to the next level and you just go, how good can I really be? So when you can place at something like that against every state, and it's like the best representative, you know, of every state, that's pretty good.
Let's do a bonus. Want to do a bonus?
Yeah, let's do a bonus.
We'll make it a 4-parter.
Yes.
A couple of the things you said, you went with one of your brothers to do an epic road trip with your youngest brother from New York City to Miami. And then you also trekked through Cambodia and Vietnam with another brother.
Yes.
So what was the onus for wanting to go with one brother on these trips?
Well, basically it was their availability. I mean, it'd be great if I had all of them, but that also might be too much. You know, I would probably get back to the things we were doing when we were kids, is punching each other on the bed. But the first one was when I was young, and my brother just finished high school. And in Australia, they have a thing when you finish high school, it's like your spring break or whatever, you know, but it's like school. It's called Schoolies Week. So you just basically go and get drunk. And instead of him doing that, my mum was like, why don't you go on a trip with Courtney somewhere? And so I was like, how about we go to Vietnam and Cambodia and go trekking and motorbiking and stuff through Vietnam and Cambodia on our own? And he was like, okay, that's great. So we go there, and it is like, you know, back when I went, it was still, you go to an internet cafe, that's how you send your emails. You have to get a calling card, go find a phone booth, you know, put the thing in. There's no, like, you didn't even have a phone. No phones worked. So that was amazing. Like, we just had the best time. It was just outrageous. And you're on speedboats down the Mekong Delta, and you're climbing over ruins at like 5 o'clock in the morning to see the sunset. You're going to like places with still active landmines. All all sorts of things. So I think it was great. And it was also great bonding for me and him because you sort of, you're always for them, you're the older sister. She's so whatever, she's so annoying or she's always doing what she's doing. It was nice to have that time where you're just together exploring.
Yeah. And then you did the New York City to Miami trip.
Yeah.
I was going to actually ask you, was there a lot of danger in that? I mean...
Yeah, it is. It is a bit dangerous. You can't... It's not like just going on a holiday anywhere. There's obviously gangs over there. There's militia. There are landmines still that they haven't uncovered. There's all the animals crazy monkeys and stuff that literally will try and pull you off a motorbike, and I've seen it happen. I was on a motorbike behind someone and a monkey or a baboon ran out from the forest and tried to grab a backpack off the back of his motorbike because they thought I had food in it. But they will grab you. If you're a little kid, I'm sure they grab you off. They're not to do anything to you, but just because they think you have food. And so there's jaguars. There's all sorts of animals. There's huge snakes. And just the fact that you're in a country where no one really speaks English. In Cambodia, it's still at the time, there was a lot of unrest, And so you definitely have your wits about you when you're there. It's not Disneyland for sure, but that makes it also the experience is that you're, eating fried spiders at night and doing all those things. And I mean, that's not, I wouldn't say a highlight, but you still do.
Well, you're in the trenches. It's like the reality shows where you're in the trenches and you're trying to survive.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's funny you mentioned it, but yeah, I could do all that, but at Disneyland.
Exactly. It is
I can go through a mine temple.
Yeah. Survival of the fittest is Disneyland.
Alan, I'm going to call BS on Disneyland.
You get chased by short little mechanical children.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
There are a lot of scary things you have to dodge at Disneyland and screaming kids and, sticky lollies that they're trying to put on you. And
yeah, you used to get spit on from the sky buckets.
Exactly. It's actually the same. It's the exact.
Exactly.
Just go to Disneyland.
Okay, so good. I don't have to go to Cambodia.
All right,
Vietnam.
so let's just say we all have our things that we're scared of and things that frighten us, and it's just, they're different.
Yeah.
They don't all have to be the same. All right.
Exactly.
My danger is robotic and controlled by...
And mine is, I don't know. Anyway, Courtney, how can people find you on the social medias?
So they can look me up. My Instagram is real Courtney Barber. I think I don't know if there's many Courtney Barbers, but yeah.
How do you spell the last name, Barber?
Barber.
Like the barber.
Like the haircut.
Yeah, and I notice you do an American R.
I have to, because if I say if on the phone they go, how do you spell your name? B-A-R-B-E-R. No one understands what that is. So I have to go B-A-R-B-E-R. And they're like, oh, it's an R, not a something. And I'm like, yeah, it's an R. So, and Courtney, obviously, normal spelling with a C, not a K. So real Courtney Barber, just Courtney Barber on Facebook. And then, I have a website, CourtneyBarber.com.
And then the fitness magazine, what's the name of it?
It's called Glam Today magazine. So you can look it up if you have an iPhone, iTunes. Most people have an iPhone these days, an iPad, something with an I in front of it. You'll find it. It's there. You can download it. It's free. It's a great magazine. You'll see many videos. If you like my awesome voice, I'm on there a lot. So you can listen to me again and watch me do athletic things. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Courtney, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you. Thank you, Lauren.
My thanks, as always, to my co-host, Alan Ng, and to this week's guest, Courtney Barber. She'll be appearing in Season 3 of HBO's series Ballers, which comes out in July 2017, and in Haz Dalul's faux documentary sci-fi thriller, The Beyond. You can follow Courtney at her website, CourtneyBarber.com. That's CourtneyBarber.com. And on Instagram at Real Courtney Barber. You can follow us online at fivethingspodcast.com or on Facebook at facebook.com/fivethingspodcast, that's F-I-V-E, or on Twitter at fivethingspod, that's F-I-V-E-P-O-D. Music by My Monthly Date. You can find them at facebook.com/mymonthly-date. Subscribe to 5 Things That Change Your Life on iTunes, and leave us a 5-star review while you're there. We'd really appreciate it. You can also listen and download our show on Google Play, Stitcher, Amazon Alexa, or your favorite podcast service. For 5 Things That Changed Your Life, I'm Lauren Kling.